Welcome back, fellas, to my series Understanding Evil. Today we'll be taking a look at Griffith from Berserk, who is regarded as one of the most notorious villains of our age. We're going to be examining his actions and, more importantly, his motivations behind it. And, bro, quick warning, there's gonna be major fucking spoilers to Berserk, so if you haven't read the manga, go read the manga first, you dickhead, then keep watching the video. Griffith is introduced as the leader of the Band of the Hawk, a very calm, collected and calculating figure. He's an orphan that grew up having to admire a kingdom up in the sky, far out of his reach. He couldn't help but develop an intrusive dream to own a kingdom himself one day. So he founds the Band of the Hawk, a mercenary group with the sole purpose of collecting money and resources. But he quickly understands that in order to become a king yourself, resources are not enough. Thus he starts networking with higher-up individuals and royal families, with the goal to win friends and ultimately marry a princess. He calculated a bulletproof plan, but that plan comes along with sacrifices he later had to learn. He forged his perfect world, having a gigantic army of his own, powerful people admiring him, a princess waiting to get married with him, and most importantly, his trump card, guts. Griffith knows how valuable of a tool he is, because if things come down to it, violence will always speak the last word. However, once Guts decides to leave him, his idealistic world crumbles. He suddenly lost control over his strongest weapon by far, creating a missing link in an else perfect plan. His idealism and perfectionism could not handle such loss. However intelligent and calculating Griffith is, he could neither foresee nor handle such a crucial building block of his vanishing. His ego is unable to take such a deep hit, thus letting us see himself acting impulsive and emotional for the first time ever. Countless lives were lost during mercenary sieges, and even his own body as he sold himself to a wealthy king to gather resources. He kept on rationalizing all these decisions, thinking that these are sacrifices he has to make, and that people become mercenary by choice anyway. The guild seems to catch up on him eventually, but instead of stopping altogether, he decides to sacrifice his own body to go further ahead and lets a wealthy man use his body. Instead of him controlling the dream takes more and more control of him. At the end, he's left with a choice: sacrifice your current Band of the Hawk and finally get your kingdom, or decide to keep your band and renounce your dream. He then goes in for his kingdom, rationalizing his decision by thinking, if I don't go all in, all the sacrifices previously made have been for nothing. Let me ask you this. You're fighting to stop world hunger, and the sacrifices have been thousands of lives lost so far, and you're about to succeed, but taking the step ahead is going to cost you another 100 comrades. What would you do? Most people would keep fighting, just like Griffith did. What are 100 comrades against all the thousands of lives that you've already lost? This is the exact way Griffith rationalizes his actions inside his own mind. This thought process is known as the escalation of commitment, or the sunk cost fallacy, a cognitive dissonance, meaning that a thought pattern tricks our brain, tricks us into believing. An example of this in real life would be somebody staying in a toxic relationship because you've already been together for 10 years. We overvalue something if we have spent lots of time and effort into something before, even if it turns out to be wrong. So in short, if I started it, I might as well continue. So much bloodshed, so much time invested, the never-ending torture and political headache would all be for nothing if he does not go that step ahead. That's what our brains intuitively believe, so it only comes logical in his own mind to sacrifice that in relation to a small group of people. He even feels completely justified in doing what he did with Casca. Now obviously he made it personal for Guts as his ego is still utterly shattered, but Griffith never acts fully out of impulse. His human body was completely worn out and useless because of all the torture, so he needed a fetus to incarnate again. In his mind, a completely logical and reasonable thing to do. His idealism is further portrayed by his desire to get wings, and his human depiction resembling more of an angel. No matter what his past was made up of, seeing his angel-like demeanor and his mythical empire, you can't help but fall in awe. His idealism is what led to his rationalization in the first place. Similar to people overly committing to a religion, even doing heinous things because they feel as they're doing it for something far greater than comprehension. Being so blinded by his ideas, he can't help but dismiss any harm he's done. And in fact, people do this to keep their own egos alive and thriving. It's a coping mechanism at its finest. His whole psyche would crumble if he were to have any sort of empathy towards any opposing ideas. So in order to protect his own self, he keeps rationalizing each and every single decision he does, perceiving himself as nothing but the incarnate manifestation of reason itself. If you think enough about it, his thought process will seem valid to you. That is because your brain is just as prone to these cognitive dissonances as his. This does not make his ideas any more right or wrong, it just makes these more plausible for our brains. This is why characters like his are so dangerous. They're convinced that their ideas are mathematical, logical conclusions and won't ever hesitate to convince your brain of using the same faulty thought patterns that you possess of their ideas as well. Despite not having bad intentions, people willfully causing harm and being unable to reflect upon their actions are an inherent danger to you and everyone around you. If you encounter somebody resembling this character type, causing harm everywhere around them, avoid them at all costs. Thanks for watching.